in the YouTube chat. This is going to be a good day. I can already tell. Hello, YouTube. Good morning. Welcome to the Urban View Experience. Somebody YouTube said, why is she only on for a short time on YouTube? And then the response was, Lurie prioritizes SiriusXM. My guess is because that's how she gets paid for work. So some of that, yes. So YouTube is an extra space that we create because we recognize that not everybody has access to SiriusXM, but everybody needs the information that we share on SiriusXM. So we began doing YouTube lives. We began, because I do this opening segment every day, but we began doing YouTube lives right around the election because we realized just what an echo chamber it can be to not have the ability to share the information with people outside. So shout out to you. Good question. But there is a reason why I'm here for a very short time on YouTube because the oh my God, are you serious? Okay, so let me sort of add a little sugar on what I just said. I just heard in my ear. Shout out to you, Jonah. Okay, so let me back up. Right at the election, we had 5,000 YouTube subscribers, right? We were not and we weren't really prioritizing YouTube. We would often send to YouTube the interviews that I do here on SiriusXM. So you guys on YouTube, you get access to all the interviews that we do, the good ones. There are some that I'm like, child, ain't don't nobody need to see this ever again. But like you all on YouTube get access to our interviews. What attracts a lot of people to the channel is when I go live, and the lives have been really helpful at helping us to spread information. But I just got a notice in my ear. We are today 25 subscribers away from 50,000 YouTube subscribers, which is incredible. Like I am YouTube, y'all can't hear the audience applauding, but I hear them in my head applauding because I'm not in the Sirius studio today. Thank you, Jonah. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, so YouTube is a space where we have been sort of co-creating an opportunity to spread the information that we share every day on YouTube. On SiriusXM beyond that. But also you have the podcast. So Lurie Breaks It Down is a podcast that launched in March. That is also a space where we're doing a lot to provide expanded versions of the opening segment in the podcast and making sure that people have access to daily news content and analysis. Because again, we don't get this information everywhere, and y'all don't get access to Black media everywhere. So shout out to all of you. Shout out to all of you who are part of the YouTube family, because that's dope. Like, I know we got millions of listeners on Urban View, but you don't necessarily see those metrics because SiriusXM doesn't give out metrics. So it's really dope to see like new numbers. Now we're just going to make them numbers match what we know is happening on SiriusXM Urban View. But we got a lot of news to get into today before Monifa Bandele joins us this morning. And I can already see I'm lagging a bit on YouTube because something happens when I'm home and the weather is not good and I'm in the home studio today. So that is what it is. Let me get to this news so y'all get some content and some information. Okay. You know how perhaps you might not be in jail, but your cousin might be? Or you know how perhaps like that kid you grew up with and who was a good kid, but just got caught up in some ish and like now they in jail and it's like, damn son, I wish that it hadn't happened to you, but you in jail. I'm gonna pray for you. I'm gonna put somebody in your commissary, put somebody in your books, and I hope that it all works out. Right. Well, the hoping that it all works out sort of understands that the jail that they are in, the prison that they are confined in, is going to at least be humane, right? Like we might know it might be a bad prison, but like you at least expect there to be some basic level of humanity in the services that are provided, because you got my loved one, you got my cousin, you got my friend, you got my childhood homie, it locked up in this place, supposedly for punishment for something that they did. Questionable, because we really got to ask ourselves, now, would a white person be in jail if they had done the same thing that my Black cousin did? Probably not, but that's a story for another conversation. So it's really frustrating when you get stories about people who are being incarcerated in like slave ship type conditions. And I know some of y'all be like, here she go being hyperbolic again. Nah, son, if you were in Orleans Parish right now, you would want somebody amplifying what's happening. And in fact, Orleans Parish, where the sheriff's name is Susan Hudson and the district attorney's name is Jason Williams, I'm going to give you their phone numbers right now because I need you to write their phone numbers down because they need a call. They need a phone call. Oh, do they need a phone call? Because of the horrific conditions in which prisoners are which incarcerated people who are incarcerated, right? Because labels matter, are being kept. So Susan Hudson, who's the sheriff of Orleans Parish, trust me, you're going to want this number in a minute, her phone number is 504-826-7034. 504-826-7034. Jason Williams, who's the district attorney, and you're going to want to know his number. His number is 504-822-2411. 2414. That's 504-822-2414. Now, you might be asking yourself, why do I need to know the names of these people who work in the Orleans Parish prison system? Here's why you need to know what their names are, and here's why I'm going to need y'all to make a phone call. The Orleans Justice Center, which is the same institution that just a couple of days ago had all of those incarcerated people who fled. They like broke out the prison and they was like scattering and out and about for a while. Most of them I think have been captured since. But this center, only 10 years old, the building, the physical building that these men are being housed in, only 10 years old, but they have not had running water since Friday. They have not had running water either in the toilets, either to drink or to wash their hands to prevent the spread of disease since Friday. Today is what? Today's Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. They still ain't got no running water. According to the report, Orleans Justice Center is still dealing with the fallout of that jailbreak, but they have not had running water since Friday night. To me, this is the real scandal here. According to the wife of one inmate, she says this is inhumane. They are not given any answers and they have not brought in any water to drink. Now, the woman who said this didn't want to give her name because she didn't want to jeopardize her husband's case. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about what it's like knowing that your loved one is locked up, maybe pre-conviction, maybe not. Maybe they did it, maybe they didn't. But the reality is we're in a situation where a human being is a human being. And the only way you get to treat people like that is when you're in a slave ship situation. So what's really good, Orleans? What's really good? According to the report, it began with a leak. This absence of water began with a leak in a hot water line on the 4th floor mezzanine. Jail officials responded by shutting off all water to the facility at 11:15. So there's a water leak. They shut off on the 4th floor. 4th floor, not the 5th floor, the 4th floor. They shut off the water to the entire facility at 11:15 Friday evening. It left inmates who were there living in, quote, filth, no access to showers, no ability to flush toilets, and now fights are breaking out all across the jail facilities. Now, everybody had eyes on Orleans Parish when it was coming to this jailbreak, but where are you at now that people are being treated like they in the bottom of a slave ship? According to the report, inmates' family members and a jail staffer told the news station about the lack of water on Monday. But Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hudson, whose name and phone number I just gave you, didn't announce the plumbing problems and didn't initially respond to requests for information and comment. Now, from the pictures, it kind of looks like Sheriff Susan Hudson might have a touch of the ancestry. I couldn't tell because, but you know how you see somebody and be like, somebody in their ancestry was slipping in the slave quarters. That's kind of what it's given. I'm not sure. She might be Black. She might be of color. I don't know. She didn't look straight Caucasoid descendants, if you know what I'm saying. So I don't know this sister. And actually I see more pictures. She's got braids in some of these pictures. She's definitely of us. She is of the tribe. Okay, she's of the tribe. So you just need to call that number and ask her, sis, what's good? What's going on? You got our family members in there. And even if I don't know nobody in there personally, you got my family members in there because of that. That's how the diaspora works. And so according to the report, this didn't even get announced as a problem until like days later. Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office sent a statement out at 8 p.m. on Monday. They said that the Orleans Justice Center was not without water all weekend. Shock. They've denied it. They said this absolutely wasn't true. They said that water did, however, have to get shut off temporarily on Saturday and again on Sunday and again on Monday. So you mean to tell me y'all cut off the water on Friday? You had to cut it off again on Saturday. You had to cut it off again on Sunday. And then you had to cut it off again on Monday. That to me, that's the whole weekend, sis. That's the whole weekend. That's what the weekend is. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's a 4-day weekend. That's beyond the weekend. Because once you go into Monday, that's beyond the weekend. According to the report, to an official from the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office, late Saturday evening, water to portions of the facility had to be temporarily shut off due to a significant leak within the wall, which posed a risk of flooding and potential discomfort to residents. You know what's discomforting to residents? Not being able to wash your hands after you poop. Right, not being able to flush the toilet when you in a cell that is containing the feces and the urine from people who have had to defecate and urinate on top of the previous person's defecation and urination. That's really uncomfortable. But the report goes on. Throughout this period, residents continue to receive a continuous supply of drinking water, ice, and hygiene support. Do you believe it? Do you believe it? The same facility that just had 50-11 bros just bust up out of there last week. And you believe they was getting regular water? I don't believe it. This facility is less than 10 years old. And according to the family members like Darnett Daniels, whose brother is waiting for a transfer to a state prison, actually, this is feeling more and more like a pre-trial, a pre-conviction holding situation. because everyone in that we are hearing from, the witnesses are talking about before the case. They don't want to negatively impact the case of their family member. They don't want to impact the transfer to a state prison. This to me is given pre-trial conviction. At least some people in here have not yet been convicted, which means they are innocent of a crime. They are innocent of a crime. But according to Darnett Daniels, whose brother is waiting for a transfer to a state prison, the whole facility smells like feces. There's bugs everywhere. They have no drinking water, nowhere to wash their hands. I believe her. I don't believe the sheriff. I believe her. I believe her because her brother is in this situation. And what was that number again? Oh, yes. For Sheriff Susan Hudson, 504-826-7034. And District Attorney Jason Williams, 504-822-2414. In case you wanted to call and make your voices heard. In case you wanted to be civically engaged and help out people who can't help themselves. Now, I know some of y'all thinking, well, they obviously did the crime. They should be willing to do the time. It's bull. That's bull. That's bullshit. That's bullshit because we know that poverty contributes to crime, and we know that if these were white people, that we would not be having a conversation in the same way that we are. Just like we know that if it was a predominant of white people in prisons would be luxury. They'd be luxurious like that. So like I want us to take the level of care that we have for white prisoners who are struggling and pretend these prisoners are white. That may help elevate your empathy just a little bit. For those of you who are lacking, I know most of y'all ain't because y'all be rocking with a sister, but I'm just saying in case your cousin is like, well, they did the crime, they should do the time. We're not doing that here. According to the report, the sheriff's office acknowledged serious plumbing issues. But Daniels, the sister of the brother who was inside, says they are downplaying everything. She says throughout the period, even though they said residents got this drinking water, ice, and hygiene support. And what's interesting is they're quoting that in every single article. I know it was in the press release, but we got to do a little bit more digging. Darnett Daniels said they are liars. She says prison is not supposed to be a fun place. No, but we're still taking care of human beings. This jail is not even 10 years old for this to be going on and have these types of problems. So once again, if you wanted to call Sheriff Susan Hudson, you would call 504-826-7034. Tell her that you heard about what's happening at the Lurie Daniel Favor Show. Do they need help with plumbing? We got black plumbers. Do they need support? Is this something that the great people of Louisiana can't figure out? Because we could help. We could crowdsource this. Y'all could crowdsource money for racists to call little black autistic kids at the N-word. We could crowdsource it. We could send some plumbers. I'm pretty sure we could do that. And once again, 504-826-7034. That is Sheriff Susan Hudson and District Attorney Jason Williams, 504-822-2414. Also want to let you know, oh man, we don't even have time. We have our guests coming. All right. Yes, our guest is here. We got to go to commercial break. I was going to give y'all the latest and greatest. And Pete, his own mama, said he's trash, Hegseth, white, entitled, and incompetency. But I can't do that right now because we got to run, because we got to get this commercial break, because the man at SiriusXM, they will pay their bills. That's one thing they is definitely going to do. But basically, Pete, his own mama, said he's trash, Hegseth was allegedly recording his own staffers to try to find out who was leaking information. And now they are looking at him kind of crazy because it's like, wait a minute, you use a surveillance tool that you're not even supposed to use on Americans generally, and you use it on your staffers who you then fired. And apparently the reasons you fired them, you only understood because of this illegal wiretap. And now everybody looking at Pete, his own mama, say he's trash. Hegseth like he's trash. And I'm like, well, his mama told you he was trash. She wrote it in a letter. That usually means you're pretty trashy. Also want to say rest in peace to Charles Rangel. Amsterdam News has a very powerful biography or obituary of former Congressman Charles Rangel, who is the Lion of Lenox, for those of you who are a part of the New York City reality. And so I really encourage you to read it. We're going to share the link so that you all can get an opportunity to read it as well, learn about this man's legacy. I never like going to the New York Times or those types of spaces for obituaries about us. I like Amsterdam News, Our Time Press. These are Black-owned news outlets, and so we got to support it. And right now we got to go to commercial break because the man is going to pay their bills. So YouTube, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. We didn't even get to Instagram today because when I'm at the home studio, I focus on YouTube only because I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And shout out to all of you who are again about to help us reach 50,000 subscribers. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. But I really appreciate y'all. Don't forget to check out today's podcast episode dropping at 2 p.m. Alan Orr, immigration attorney, and I get a chance to talk about what immigration from a Black perspective actually looks like and what those numbers mean on the ground. So much more to come on the Lurie Daniel Favor Show. Urban View. We'll be right back after this. YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button, y'all. Love y'all. Gotta go. Bye.